Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Ivan Penaluna.
And I'm Eric Amber.
And on today's show,
Post-selfie apocalypse.
Oh, you guys like to tell jokes and giggle and kid around, huh? Giggling like a bunch of young broads in a schoolyard. Well, let me tell a joke.
I wanted this to be professional.
I don't gotta listen to this shit.
You certainly don't, pal. Because the good news is... Awesome!
With Byron Bertram and Ivan Penaluna.
Okay, Eric, so this is the show that we're doing today. I'm very excited about this. It is our post-collapse survivalist show. We're going to talk about prepping. We're going to talk about the culture of prepping. We're going to talk about people who aren't even aware that there's an issue going on. People are like listening to this and going, what? There's an issue? You mean when I cross the road, listen to my iPhone and not shoulder checking, I'm in danger?
No, that's a preppy.
Okay.
Not a prepper. How many preppers does it take to change a light bulb?
Well, that's a great question. I think the answer to that is the fact that there won't be any light bulbs.
There won't be light bulbs. There won't be any of this stuff that we have now.
No.
There won't be no selfies. There won't be no iPhones.
So what exactly are we talking about here? For people who are hitting this from a cold start, what are we talking about here? We're talking about a situation where either we have, and I mean, stop me when I mention something that's out of the realms of possibility, but we either have a financial collapse, or we have a major earthquake on a local level, or we have some sort of pandemic outbreak.
There's only one thing that needs to happen for us, or when I say us, everyone to go into survival mode, and that is the absence of electricity.
It's a very good point.
The moment electricity is lost, we're all survivalists.
And that's how tenuous our survival is as a first world nation. Everybody who lives in a first world country, pretty much their survival is predicated on their accessibility to electricity.
The very first thing that's going to happen is your phone and your computer will not be usable. Right?
Yes.
And so that'll...
And already, to some people, this is hell on earth.
It's going to be instant panic.
To the millennials who don't know any better, that's the end of life itself. That's like basically being a little mouse and having your whole world taken away from you, and you just sit there shaking, waiting to be killed.
Within a couple of days, it'll be like empty your refrigerator of anything that might be rotten. Like you gotta drink the milk, you gotta eat the fruit,
right?
You gotta cook up that fish, and hopefully you've got a gas or wood burning stove because the electricity's out, right? So there'll be tons of rotten food everywhere.
Okay, yeah. So but let's start at the beginning, right? The most important thing, as you quite rightly point out, is basically saving the food that you have. So if your electricity goes out, you need to start eating and preparing that food in your freezer, but also you need to basically secure yourself or find a way of accessing clean, drinkable water, because that's the number one thing in a situation like this, is that you need access to water. 3 days without water and you're dead.
Just remember one thing, right? The human body can go 30 days without food, all right? You might not think it, but you can. Right? It's one of those thoughts you just even the idea of going without food for 3 days makes you panic. No, you can survive for 30 days without food, but you cannot survive 3 days without water.
So, and what a lot of people don't even realize is that they have literally over 100 gallons of drinkable water in their house right now.
Right
now, whether it's in a hot water
tank. Right?
You got a fish
tank.
Those
fish are going to get eaten. You got some ice in your ice box.
You got a toilet cistern. That's got water in it. So immediately, whenever anything happens, what you want to do is you want to fill up your bath full of water. You want to get rid of, and especially in an earthquake, you want to make sure that you empty those pipes. You shut off the water, because in an earthquake, the thing that's going to make you homeless faster than anything else is a gas leak or a water leak.
Yeah.
And often people don't even think about this.
And close the windows. You want to close the windows so that no freak outside sees you having a bath.
Well, I think that comes in the following days. But we've talked about this at length, and it's a very interesting subject. And I think the other thing that a lot of people don't actually even consider in this sort of post, let's say, apocalyptic scenario, is that in the coming days, in the 3-4 days, and let's be honest, the government says that you're going to have to spend 72 hours at least on your own be able to survive for 72 hours on your own. I mean, most people can't survive with 5 hours without Facebook. So this is 72 hours on your own without any sort of government help. For socialists, that's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Because they're waiting for the government to turn up and make everything okay, right? So you're going to have to do this. But what people don't realize is that within 3-4 days, anybody who's addicted to medication drugs, or on antipsychotics, anybody who's on Prozac and been on Prozac for a long time, anybody who's addicted to meth or crack cocaine or anything like that, they're going to become very dangerous people. I mean,
so Vancouver is off limits. Like, Vancouver's got to get the fuck out of this town.
This is going to be zombie town. When they talk about zombies, all they're really talking about is people who haven't got access to drugs that they're on.
But you know who's going to survive the longest?
Who's that?
The homeless.
The homeless are going to be a really, really hardy bunch in that sort of situation.
Because they're already homeless.
Yeah, just as long as they're not addicted to hardcore drugs.
And even then, they'll just be more like zombies and violent. But they're going to survive probably longer than the yuppies.
Yeah, and I think anybody who's a problem because they're addicted to any sort of drug is going to die first, because people are going to have to kill them. They're going to become too dangerous to have around in society, wandering around like zombies, attacking people in order to get things. That's going to shorten your lifespan no end.
And there'll be fights and fires. Like grocery stores will be broken into.
Oh yeah.
To get what's left of the food.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course, bank machines won't be. Money won't be worth shit.
Money won't be worth shit. And this is the other thing that people often overlook. What's going to be worth money after this sort of situation unfolds are things that you don't even put that much value on now. So we talked about water. We talked about, obviously, food, canned food. Medicines are going to be worth money. Essential oils with which you can you make things antiseptically clean, they're going to be worth money. Cigarettes, alcohol. They're going to be worth money. Things that you can trade like this.
Those will be the commodities.
Those will be the commodities.
Clothes, blankets,
waterproof clothing, waterproof boots. These are going to be commodities.
Yeah.
Your car isn't going to be worth that much.
Except that, you know what? I will probably have a hose and a bucket, and I'll be going around siphoning all the fuel from all the different cars.
Well, there you go.
But you know what? And you guarantee all those hippies who are like, save the planet, don't burn fuel, will be like, give me some gas, man. I'll suck some dick for some gas.
You'll be a very happy man.
I will suck your dick for gas, man. You're like, I thought you were anti-fracker. I don't give a shit, man. I'm fucking cold. I'll burn some fucking fuel.
I'll frack that gas out of your pants right now.
Yeah, right? That'll be another commodity, right? The assholes of liberals.
Liberal assholes will be
liberal
another
assholes will be a
commodity.
commodity.
The bomb will drop straight out of that market because you'll be able to get it anywhere for nothing.
Right? They will do anything to stay warm and get a warm meal.
They don't have any guns or weapons.
No,
they have no idea of looking after themselves. Right? So
they have no
fucked.
upper body strength.
They have no upper body strength. They're emasculated by 20, 30 years of cultural Marxism. So they're not even men. The men aren't even men anymore. They're just kind of like man bitch boys.
Yeah. Everyone's pet will become livestock.
They've been wearing skinny jeans too long, which restrict the sort of growth and development of muscle in the legs, so they can't run.
Oh, that's why they're so dumb, because they're like, their blood has been
skinny
inhibited.
jeans. Skinny jeans is another invention of cultural Marxism to destroy men's ability to be able to run and hunt. Have you not worked this out?
The pantaloon is a conspiracy.
The pantaloon. Have you ever tried and put on any of those skinny jeans? Those are going to be the first thing to go. Post-collapse, everybody's going to cut their skinny jeans off because you don't want to be running around in skinny jeans.
Eventually, there will be an equilibrium and there'll be post-apocalyptic fashion. And I don't know what that is yet.
It'll be like Tank Girl fucking Mad Max shit.
Right.
That sort of stuff. But
everyone's pet will suddenly become a potential meal.
Oh, everybody, listen, mate.
There won't be pets.
Cats are going to be dead within a week, right? Dogs, most of them, unless they're just for show, will survive. The ones that aren't for show and can actually hunt out food and provide a service will survive. Those fluffy little things that you put in your handbag, that's another meal. I'm not being funny.
No, of course not.
And so that's going to be gone. People will be breaking into pet food stores and eating the food in there.
The aquarium will be emptied.
Yeah, so let's get on to the other side.
The Vancouver aquarium will just be like...
That's a good point. Get a load of Hell's Angels in there dragging a dolphin out.
Even vegans will start eating fucking meat because they'll be hungry.
Vegans will be the meat.
Maybe so.
And
of course, there'll be just mental breakdown. There'll be like lots of people will be just like, I can't believe this is happening.
Absolutely. So what people do in this sort of situation is that they first go into denial. They deny that it's happening, and they deny that there's going to be a problem. And there's a difference between that and the sort of stiff upper lip sort of thing that you saw in the Second World War. Everybody sort of like went, carry on, cheerio, don't worry about it. We'll be okay. They accepted that there was a problem, but they belittled it. This denial of the problem is a completely different sort of psychology. And a lot of people will go into shock and they will deny, and then they will get angry, because you got to remember that we live in a society full of entitlement. Right? And when you live in an entitled society, people are going to get angry and think that your shit is their shit all of a sudden.
They think that now already. Look at all the campus protests and stuff like that, like with Milo Yiannopoulos giving talks and spoiled brats thinking they had the right to disrupt it, smear red paint on their face and all this stuff because they didn't like his ideas. What are those people going to be like when suddenly it's not just the entitlement of the golf clap and everying they think is great.
What they're going to be doing
when it's actual physical hardship.
They're going to be getting together in gangs and saying that we need to kill and eat all the right wingers. That's what those guys are going to be doing. I can tell you right now what they're going to be doing.
The
there will also be a cultural regression.
Rifles.
There'll probably be a cultural regression. In that like communities will fall back onto their own communities.
Very good point.
Like Chinese community.
Excellent point.
You know what I mean? Like
the local church down here. That'll be a rallying point for communities, right? If you belong to that church, you're going to be good. People are only going to survive in groups. The idea, and this brings us on to a really good point, the idea, and there's this culture in North American prepping culture, where it's like people grab a bag and their gun and they go off into the wilderness. As Michael C. Rupert puts it in Collapse, if you do that, you're dead already. There's no way that anybody living out there in the boonies is going to put up with you hanging around doing that. And how long do you think you're going to survive on your own? The only way to survive this sort of situation is in groups, coherent groups where you can look after each other and provide for each other. This is the key to this. And I think a lot of people...
And not succumb to madness.
Not succumb to madness, and also have some sort of organizational... have some sort of hierarchical organization to the group as well. I think that people think that this is going to be, just as long as I've got all the gear, I've got all the great gear, I've got this, I've got that, I'll be fine. It's really, as this guy called Selko, who lived for a year in Sarajevo during the brutal siege there, puts it, survival at that level really comes down to quite nitty-gritty, gristly practicalities. It's not about the gear. It's not about this. People think they need a gun to be able to run out into the wilderness and shoot a deer. No, you need a catapult to kill a squirrel. That's basically the practicalities of surviving. You're going to eat 3 or 4 squirrels a day. You're not going to shoot one deer.
No, I mean, like, first of all, let's say you shoot a deer. Like, then what do you do? Like, you're going to gut it yourself?
And then you're going to drag it back.
And then you're gonna dry all the meat, and you're gonna build a tent out of its skin. Like that requires a whole teepee village.
And what you want to do is you want to be invisible. You don't want to be wandering around in all of these sort of best camos with your gun and everything, wandering around going, "Hey, look, I'm the guy. I'm the post-apocalyptic guy." People are going to make a target of you for that. You want to be invisible. You don't want people to know that you have stuff. This is going to be a culture of deception and subterfuge. People are going to be hiding exactly what they've got. They're going to be burying it. They're going to disguising their families and who they are and where they are. They don't want anybody to know.
I already know who my enemies are. It's not going to be some hipster. My biggest enemy is going to be little old lady. Little old lady who's now the thing about little old ladies is that they've lived a long life. Right? And
they know how to can the shit out of goods.
They know how to can the shit out of goods. They know how to do things, but they're also ornery, right? There's nothing more ornery than a little old lady, in my experience.
Right. You need one in your group, though. You need a little old lady who's going to can stuff.
Yeah, and teach the other ladies how to can stuff.
This is it. And people need to start learning skills.
Because skills that we used to have.
The skills we used to have, or our grandparents had, are going to come in really useful in the near future.
But I'm not talking about that little old lady. The useful old lady. I'm talking about the feminist old lady with the long hairy armpits who was a poet.
Right. What you mean, most of the women over the age of 55 on Commercial Drive.
On Commercial Drive, none of these ladies have any use. They're all useless.
Well, no, they can chant and sit in a circle.
Oh, that's right. That's right. And
they can channel the water goddess.
They can tell you to check your male privilege.
That's right.
At the door.
That's right. So that's what I mean. Like, you get a bunch of those together, like they're gonna out democracy me. So like, we got to take them out.
Listen, this is very quickly going to come down to practical realities, right? What skill set have you got? What organizational skills, what mental fortitude do you have in order to survive this situation? Those who don't tick any boxes are going to be low-sitting members. And those who tick the most boxes are going to be high-sitting members.
Yeah.
Young people are going to be very valuable. Even children who are sort of like 14, 15 are going to be very, very valuable within your group. And this is heavy, but it's you've got to start looking at the world in a different way.
The barter system will come back.
Barter system will be key. And so I just want to point out that there is a great resource that people can access out there, and I've been following it for years. It's called Shit Hit the Fan School, SHTF school, and it's run by a guy called Selco, and he gives very, very practical lessons on how to survive in a post-collapse world. And like I say, there's no bells and whistles on it. It's not it's not full of fancy, expensive stuff. It's just, this is the mindset you've got to get in, and this is all that you need. But he's key on, it's all about community. You need people around you. You need to have a cohesion within the community that you exist within in order to survive. You're not going to do this on your own. That's his point.
Yeah, and you can't just run out into the woods and start gardening.
No, exactly.
Because it's not gonna happen.
You know, and if you're somewhere like North America, people have got guns.
You know, a few years ago in Montreal, there was this thing called the ice storms, and basically there was so much rain in the middle of winter that suddenly froze. All the power lines snapped, and so like big parts of Quebec were without electricity for upwards of like 10 days in some areas in the middle of winter. Now, in Canadian winter, that's really fucking cold, right? And so people were bringing their barbecues into their houses to like stay warm. So they were having fire pits.
That's a carbon monoxide danger, isn't it?
Dozens of people died.
Right.
Because they're just like
warning people, if you want to bring your barbecue inside, make sure it's well ventilated.
Well, because they don't know science, right? They're like, what happens when you burn something, right?
Gas indoors.
Yeah, you get carbon monoxide.
Yeah,
right. You can't breathe. It sucks all the oxygen out. So like they started fires. They killed themselves. Just like all because there was no electricity, right? And that's ultimately the main thing. If we are over reliant on electricity. Our whole of society is over reliant on electricity.
Or as Michael C. Rupert puts it, the reason why there's 7 billion people on the planet is purely because of oil. If you looked at the figures prior to the Industrial Revolution in Europe, they were pretty manageable. And we have this exponential growth needle that's just gone up to 7 billion. And his point is, it never goes up to 7 billion it never goes up like that. A chart never goes up like that without coming straight down again.
So oil is the cause of our population explosion.
Yes, but what sustains it is oil and electricity. I mean, electricity, I agree with you. Key to domestic urban life at the quality that we know it is electricity.
So, you know what? Generator. Get a generator.
No, that's going to be, because you got to run it off. What you need is a 14-year-old boy with very fast legs and a bicycle, and you need to put the back wheel up on a stand and start getting him cycling all day.
Right.
That's what you do. I think electricity is going to be a luxury. Electricity is going to be a luxury. I don't think people are going to be, I think electricity is going to be a luxury for most people. I don't think people are going to chase that. They're going to chase the food and the water.
But we're kind of comically talking about the apocalypse.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
But meanwhile, this scenario already exists in Venezuela.
Well, thanks to socialist policies, Venezuela is now living the future.
They're living the future apocalypse, right?
Fourth biggest oil producer in the world, on its knees economically.
Because the people can't afford food, they can't afford medicine, they can't afford anything, all because the socialist government decided to basically take over the oil industries.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and pursue reckless policies. So yeah, absolutely. If you want to, and this is my argument about Bernie Sanders. If you want to, when you're $21 trillion in debt, the last thing you need is a presidential candidate who's going to turn your country into Venezuela.
Well, it's funny because like we are talking about preppers or prepping, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to have that experience of what it's like to live in a post-apocalyptic world, just go to Africa or Venezuela, and then you'll have a greater appreciation for it.
I think Venezuela is more reflective of what an urban first, second world society is going to be like, because it had the infrastructure and now it's collapsing.
I think that America should vote for Bernie Sanders for one reason and
What's
one
that?
reason alone. They can finally have that experiment with socialism that they think they want.
You mean really, after all these years, you get what you want? And it's the great time to have it. $21 trillion in debt. Take that experiment.
Do it, guys. Do
It's
it.
like,
Good and hard.
It's like basically having 8 pints of beer. At the end of a night out, right, somebody goes, you know what you really want to do now is you really want to do some heroin.
You know what? You guys have been talking about it for years and years and years. Just do it. Take
Just
the
do it.
plunge.
You're going to feel great.
Right? Take some heroin, and then when you wake up in 8 years and realize that you have nothing and you gave away your freedom for one more shot in the arm, there'll be another revolution. There'll be, it's like, what's the name of that character in the Bible that gave away his birthright for a meal?
Oh, fuck, I don't know.
Esau, I think.
Esau? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because it's Isaac's brother.
That's correct. Thank you. So Esau, the story goes, he was really hungry and he was a good hunter, but he was lazy. He's lazy and he's like, I could go out into the woods and like hunt something, or I could just like get my brother to give me a meal. Hey, brother. And his brother's like, yeah, sure, I'll give you a meal, but you have to give up your birthright.
Oh, I do remember this now. Yeah.
Right? And he's like, yeah, sure. I give you my birthright, whatever. Just give me a hot meal. And then, of course, once he was fed, he realized, wait a minute, you weren't serious about that, were you? And he's like, yes, I was. And he gave up his inheritance all for that quick fix.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what's going to happen. So you know what? America is Esau, and they're going to give up their inheritance. They're going to give up their birthright, all for like free education.
That's a great point, Eric. All right. And on that note, let's go to the fucking news.
Fucking news.
This is the fucking news.
All right, go. In 5, 4. I can't do it. We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
This is the fucking news.
Fucking thing sucks.
All right, first up in the news, environmentalists in India are bitching and moaning about Guru Sri Sri Ravi Shankar's World Culture Festival.
Sorry, can I just say that's a made-up name?
I would guess so. Ravi might be his real name.
What is that? Is that his real name?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what it says in the report.
Gurus. No, I just gave the guru's name, but gurus often take fake names or,
Ravi Shankar. Guru Ravi Shankar. Anyway.
Sri Ravi.
Sri Ravi. I love Sri. You know what? You can put Sri in the front of anything and it makes it sound great.
It makes it sound like you're enlightened.
Also, you could say, what form of auto insurance would you like? Would you like the bronze package, the silver package, the gold package, or would you like the Sri package? And that'd be going, how much more is the Sri package?
Comes with free enlightenment. Anyways, he's holding the World Culture Festival, and it will be held this month on the banks of the Yamuna River.
That's another made-up name.
Yeah, that one I think is real. It's a tributary of the Ganges. It's outside the city of Delhi. The activists are complaining that the expected 3.5 million attendees will, quote, trample the area.
Of course they will.
Yeah. And they're therefore asking India's environmental court. It's kind of strange that they even have an environmental court. Doesn't that seem a little... Anyways.
We'll get to that one.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get to that. They're asking the environmental court to cancel the festival. Now, a committee appointed by the court did not order the event canceled. However, they have recommended fining Shankar's organizing foundation $17.5 million.
Wow, that's a lot of money for an organization.
That seems like they didn't bribe enough of the right people first. That's what that smells like to me.
I think that's a very good point. And also, $17.5 million. I suppose it's not that much if you have a load of devotees giving you oodles of their money from their family estates, as often these gurus do. But I mean, my first point about that is that basically, the environmental services of India Really, I mean, they're complaining about 3.5 million people gathering in one place. Well, I mean, if you just
they didn't even seem to be complaining about the waste. It was like that they're going to be standing there. It's bad enough.
The whole of India is an environmental abomination. You know, on a population level. You know, you complain about 3.5 million people. What about 1 billion people? Why not complain about them and prosecute all of them and put them in court and fine them $17.5 million just for being alive, right, and washing their ass in a river? You know, what about doing that? You know?
That's next month. It says here, activists also bemoan that the festival is being done in the name of, quote, peace and nonviolence, as if that was somehow a bad thing and somehow related.
Well, maybe they've changed tack. Maybe India's now not known with being associated with peace and nonviolence. Maybe it's going on a very, very violent...
Standing and sitting and meditating is now violent. Your butt will compress the earth and it's an act of violence, I guess. Anyways, the whole thing kind of makes it sound as though the foundation didn't go through the process, but actually they got all the necessary permits. They're even saying we're only using eco-friendly materials. We're taking care to not have any lasting impact. So it just seems to me like these activists are maybe annoyed that they weren't invited or not bribed enough. It's weird.
I think the key one there is they just didn't bribe enough or bribe the right people. That's basically 3.5 million people in India. That's basically a football game.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know, I don't know what the complaint is.
The average mall on Sunday afternoon.
All right, what else we got?
The next story. Well, not that it really matters at this point, but the LAPD are finally running tests on a folding knife that was found buried on the grounds of O.J. Simpson's former home. The knife was found on the property by a construction worker at some point.
How deep was it buried?
It didn't say. I mean, it was after the OJ's house had been demolished and was going to be rebuilt by the new owner. So I guess a construction worker on that project. They must have been digging somewhere in 1998. Dude found this folding buck knife. So it's a big knife. And sort of, I don't know if he realized whose house it had been or whether he just realized it's kind of weird that you have a knife buried in the backyard. Probably knew. He went across the street where there was a film shoot going on, and there
As you do.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there were off-duty LAPD cops working security, so he went over and said, "Hey, man, I found this across the street. I don't know." And the cops, the off-duty officer, took it home.
Right, because that's what you do. When you're an off-duty officer and somebody hands you a knife from the O.J. Simpson house, you go, hey, that's a beautiful knife. I think I'm going to take that home. In fact, you know what I'm going to do with that? I'm going to go to Vegas next week and I'm going to sell it.
You'd think that would be the logical thing, but they didn't even do that. Nothing else was heard about the knife.
What, for ages?
For ages, until...
Right. This is LAPD's best. This is 101 of police work, right? Evidence gets bagged and taken to a station. You don't take it home and put it in your garage.
Yeah. Well, I guess the reason this came to light was the officer who was handed the knife in 98.
Was his name Officer Coon?
I don't know.
That's not supposed to be funny, but it's fucking hilarious.
Let's get the Ouija board and ask Bill Hicks. Anyways, this officer Coon. Yeah. Officer
He's a white guy, by the way.
Probably. Officer Hide the Knife. Finally retired this January.
Really? Was he a bit tired, was he?
Yeah. So, but he decided that, that old knife that someone brought him from OJ's house.
I mean, I'm trying to let's get it straight. So how many years had he had it?
Well, since 98, I guess.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Almost 20 years.
Almost 20 years. That's not evidence anymore. That's a relic.
Exactly.
Would it have like jewels on it? Would it have like jewels? Was it like a Roman dagger? It was found. Your Honor, it was found 10 foot under the ground in the O.J. Simpson property. It looks like a Roman dagger. It's got jewels on the handle. It looks like a Roman dagger to me. It's exactly the sort of dagger that O.J. Simpson would own and probably kill somebody with.
You want to know what the officer wanted?
Allegedly.
Allegedly. The officer decided that he wanted to have it framed.
Nice.
But he didn't just want to have it framed, you see. He wanted to have the case number, the O.J. Simpson murder case
brilliant.
number.
This gets
engraved
better
on
and
it.
better. So this is where it all fell apart, right?
Yes, because he asked a friend of his who still works for the LAPD
This is brilliant.
in the robbery homicide division.
Oh, these guys are
He's
idiots.
like, can you get me O.J.'s case number? Why do you want it? Well, yeah, I have this knife thing. What?
You have a what? A knife. Yeah, it's a knife that I found at the O.J. Simpson property nearly 20 years ago. I haven't mentioned it to anybody, but I'd really like a case number because I want to frame it on my
And
wall.
have the case number engraved on
have
the
the
frame.
case number and frame. Really? Right. Do you know what? Do you know how policing works? Well, I was a police officer for 20 years, but my memory's
I
a
think
bit...
he was a traffic cop. Like,
Right. Well, my memory's a bit rusty. Can you just explain to me how policing works? Yeah. When you find a piece of evidence, what you do is you don't take it to your garage and leave it there for 18 years. You bring it to the police station and alert a senior member of staff as to your finding. Yeah, you got that? Shit. Never covered that when I was a cop.
His friend who works in...
We're getting fucking mileage out of this, aren't we?
Exactly. Well, his friend who's still an active LAPD
as he
cop,
should rightly be.
as he should rightly be, told his superiors, was very upset.
Right,
The
it's upset.
superiors
I'm very
basically-
upset with you. You have let me down massively. I really, I can't.
It gets
I
a little
can't
bad,
believe. I
dude.
can't start to tell you how upset I am with you. You've kept a piece of vital evidence for 18 years in your garage, and now you want to put it in a picture frame on your wall.
When they finally basically demanded it, the guy did hand it over. So now it's being tested for forensics.
Brilliant. And do you know what? And it's probably got nothing to do with the O.J. Simpson murder whatsoever. It's probably left by a Roman there, 3,000 years ago.
Some Spanish conquistador.
As Hollywood would have you believe. Yeah. It was probably found on the U-571.
Yeah.
Along with the Enigma machine that the Americans found there.
It's just so funny because, there was all this bullshit about the LAPD planted evidence. Well, it turns out the LAPD or someone from the LAPD withheld evidence.
That's a good point. They planted evidence and they planted it so well, no one found it until 1998.
Exactly. And then hid it in the garage.
Fucking great.
So,
that's great.
and of
What would you
course-
do without these people? We'd have no show.
I know. Well, I mean, there was something in the piece I saw in Breitbart that it looked like there may have been blood evidence on it, but rusted over now. So I mean, who knows whether they find anything or not? But at this point, it kind of doesn't matter because he was acquitted in the trial. So
Listen,
they can't. I guess they could do something about hiding evidence but they can't get him on the murder thing.
Listen,
even if it's proven.
O.J. Simpson went to prison for a very long time for an act of stupidity which most people would never enter into, and that is stealing back memorabilia from a Hollywood hotel that somebody else was trying to sell. I mean, the guy's obviously an idiot. He's gone to prison for something eventually, and this is the point that most people make. Listen, you might have got away with that one, but you'll get done for something else because you're an idiot and you're a criminal.
And now you've pissed off the cops, so now they're going to be looking really closely, except for the one guy.
Anyway, that's great. What else have we got?
Last story. Good news for all my alcoholic friends with small bladders.
Yay!
At least if you're going to New York City.
Right.
You can get drunk in public and you can piss in public, maybe even both at the same time.
I've done both. I've actually been drinking whilst pissing in public at the same time.
Then I think we know where you want to go on vacation this year.
Is it Louisiana?
No, New York City.
Do you know, one place you do not want to fuck with the cops is Louisiana.
No.
They use words like heathen and evildoers.
I recall a friend of mine, well, I guess some guy I dated a long, long time ago talking about jaywalking in New Orleans, and the cop waved him over. And I guess he was used to jaywalking here, so he didn't really think about it. The cop goes up to the guy, yes, officer, and the cop just holds his hand out like, $20. Like, you're gonna bribe me or else I'm gonna arrest you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'd give the $20 over.
Well, that's what he did.
Yeah.
But it was just blatantly, that'll be $20.
I don't want to go to Angola. It's a state pen in Louisiana. I don't want to go
Not
there for
for
even a
jaywalking.
night.
Exactly.
You know what they do to white boys of even my weathered years?
They make you squeal like a piggy.
Exactly. I'm not going there. I'm fucking paying the $20. Anyway, so basically you can go to New York, right? You can have a piss and you can have a drink and it's all fine.
And they will not arrest you for it.
The one thing that is surprising about this is you remember we're under Giuliano, whatever it's
Giuliani.
Giuliani, thank
Rudy
you very
Giuli.
much. Rudy Giuli. Under Rudy Giuli, he said New York is a great place. It's a safe place. Everybody can come here. There's no crime. And I remember going to Rudy Giuliani's New York, and it was safe.
Yeah.
It was safe. He cleared it up. No longer was it assault on precinct 13.
Yeah.
13. It wasn't the last train to Pelham or whatever it is. It was cleaned up from the 70s. It wasn't the Warriors. That was all gone in the past.
Yeah.
It was a nice new New York. And now New York, obviously, has got a bit comfortable with itself, and it's going,
we need some excitement.
yeah, we're bored of being New York. Clean and nice New York is no good for us. We need some excitement. What we're going to do is we're going to make pissing and drinking it's basically not a prosecutable offence. Yeah. That's what we're going to do from now on, because the New York of the 80s, the 90s and the noughties was just no fun to be in.
Yeah, exactly. You want to have everyone sort of playing puddle hop scotch, right?
And I'm from the UK, and I know, I've seen rivers of piss snaking down the street and people fucking getting engulfed in them like a flash flood. I'm not joking. I am not joking. Rivers of piss from girls at the top of the street, squatting down and pissing, right? And they come down the street, and people are there.
Enoch Powell was talking about rivers of blood, which is a little less gross.
It's less gross and more relevant. Yeah. But absolutely, rivers of piss are what exist in Britain, because everybody drinks in the street and everybody pisses in the street. I mean, public drinking. When I moved to Canada...
Well, maybe this is just an effort to get more UK tourists to go to New York and feel at home.
Their pound is worth a lot at the moment. So, maybe it's... You look at places like the UK, and you come from there and you come to Canada, and it's like, really, what? I can't buy a beer at the corner store. That's outrageous. What, you mean I can't walk down the street drinking a beer? That is fucking criminal. How is this not? How is this? But you know what? Canada has a much healthier relationship with alcohol than the UK does.
True.
Very true. It's not a lose-all situation.
Yeah. And it's interesting because the announcement came out of the Manhattan District Attorney Cyrus Vance Jr.'s office.
Cyrus Vance Jr.?
Yes.
Anyway, so Cyrus Vance has a son called Cyrus Vance Jr. because Cyrus Vance was the foreign he was a foreign minister, for want of a better word. Cyrus Vance under Reagan, I believe.
Oh,
Cyrus Vance was the foreign minister,
and now his son wants everyone to be able to pee on the streets.
So his son's also involved in politics.
Yeah,
unless there's some sort of weird thing going on where there's another Cyrus Vance. I can't imagine.
I'd seem against it.
No, the world of politics, you have one Cyrus Vance and then you have another one. You would not be, you don't need to be Benedict Cumberbatch to work out that there's a correlation between the two Cyrus Vances.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's called Junior, which suggests that there's a dad somewhere.
Because otherwise there have to be three Cyrus Vances.
Cyrus Vance the Third. What?
He said his announcement said that it was a joint decision with the chief of police and with Mayor Bill de Blasio, but neither of those said anything about it. It just came out of the DA's office.
Right.
That he said he's no longer going to prosecute any such cases, though they may still ticket you and give you a fine. And if they're anything like most cops, then that means they'll be writing a lot of tickets just for the money grab.
Yeah.
But the DA's office estimates that this policy change will mean 10,000 fewer arrests every year.
Well, that frees up a lot of space in New York jails.
Yeah.
For I don't know who.
I don't know, because they're also scaling back on the stop and frisk stuff, aren't they? Wasn't it de Blasio was saying something about...
That's a great name. If you're going to be the mayor of New York, you're going to be called de Blasio. Mayor de Blasio said today.
Yeah.
Mayor de Blasio ain't going to have none of this. You see this, kid? You see what this is? Mayor de Blasio don't like this sort of shit. Smack you around a bit. That's what Mayor de Blasio's going to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's been going off on different rants about police supposedly over-targeting black kids and stuff like that.
Is he not a friend of the police, Mayor de Blasio?
Forget the details now, but I know he's made a lot of statements that have pissed off the NYPD. So there's even been cases where NYPD officers have had to be on duty when he's giving speeches out in public, and you'll see photos where they all turn their backs on him.
Oh, I did hear about this.
Yeah.
He's not a friend of the police.
No. And I mean, I know he'll make comments about, the racial thing because his wife's black. So then, well, what do I have to tell my sons? Don't commit crimes, dude.
Yeah, he's good. You know what? My wife's
Stop and
black.
frisk. I think Bloomberg even said, like, well, 7% of stoppings were white people, but when you look at the crime statistics, that's actually over by 2%. We should stop 2% fewer white people or something like that. Which
That's great.
de Blasio is like right out.
When you live in a world of statistics, I mean, it's great when it comes down to arguments. Yeah. But when you live in a world of statistics in the organic world, it becomes a rather bizarre place.
And de Blasio, I mean.
Mayor de Blasio. That's a great name. You get elected with a name like that.
Yeah, pretty
in New
much.
York.
It's the Italians who, I guess.
It's the Italians and the Irish.
Yeah.
I went to a school in Lancashire, and basically our entire school, I mean, I went to a fucking bad school. I wasn't a bad guy, but it was a bad school. Mm-hmm. And my mum, if she loved me and cared about me, should never have sent me to that school. But there was very few options open.
Yeah.
And basically it was a Catholic school, which meant in Lancashire that the population of the school, of over 800 students, was made up of Italians, Irish, and Afro-Caribbeans. Yeah. Which made for a very, very violent combination, as you can probably imagine. There wasn't any racial tension.
It was just turf wars.
It was just turf war. It was just basically violence.
Yeah.
We didn't have any Indian, we didn't have any Muslims because we were a Catholic school. All the Muslims went to the Protestant school, which is ironic. But if you were Muslim in my hometown, you went to the Protestant school. You didn't go to the Catholic school. That's too extreme.
Yeah.
Right? But no, it was a very violent school. And I put it down partly to that demographic.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of that. But anyway, thank you very much, Pyro.
No problem.
Okay, so we're back with Eric Amber. Eric's got another one of his stories, and this time it's from your time. You're 2-3 years with the Theatre St. Catherine in Montreal.
In 2001, I moved to Montreal, and I took over a property and I renovated it, and it took me about 3 years. And in 2004, end of 2004, I opened it as a venue for theater and art in Montreal called Theatre St. Catherine, and I was there till about 2009. So about 9 years, I was living in Montreal, running a venue. And towards the end of my time in Montreal, I started really hopeful. I started my business really hopeful. Owning a business in Quebec is how do I describe it? It's a difficult thing to do.
I can imagine, because it's such a bureaucratic and socialist system.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got, and not only that, you've got all the gangland.
There's so many elements to it. Like basically, being an honest businessman in Quebec is laughable. It's foolish. Everybody's growing weed and selling drugs and running strip clubs, and I'm trying to run an honest business. Like I was so stupid. That was the biggest mistake of my life.
Yeah, because they don't run an honest economy.
No. Everything is so like
everything is dishonest.
Yeah, even so getting a permit to even exist, operations permit, getting it basically I did everything by the book, and that was the stupidest thing I could have done.
Yeah,
right?
They don't operate like that.
And so as a result, I was working 7 days a week to try and make everything sort of make sense and pay my bills and
you're an idiot. No one does that in Montreal.
No, it's so stupid, so stupid. And I had this thing where I would rent the venue to outside theater companies as a venue for hire. I didn't curate, in other words. My mandate, I wouldn't even call it mandate. It wasn't even that high-minded. It was just I don't really want to be the guy that's curating. I'll just rent the space out to other artists who are looking for places to do their shit. And that was part of my success and part of my failure. I had lots of people who wanted to use the space, but I also had got a lot of flack for it because all the people who wanted to use the space were English speakers, right? And Quebecers hate the English. So I became known as the English theater, and that caused me all kinds of grief. And one of these English theater groups was this little old woman from England, and she had a company called Persephone Productions, and her name was Gabrielle Suskin, and she did very important plays, very important racist plays about issues, about racism or social issues that are important, right? And everybody loved her, and she was a professor at one of the colleges. So all our students had to come and review her plays and give her good reviews, or not graduate. She had a perfect little scam going.
You know what I remember? I was at university at Middlesex. We had we had one of the lecturers there who actually was running a play in Leicester at the time. And hey, wouldn't it be a great idea if you guys all came and saw my play in Leicester? Really? Yeah, we'll get a bus. We'll hire a coach and we'll get the faculty to pay for it, and we'll ship you all up there, the 1.5 hours, you watch the play, and then 1.5 hours back, And it's only in hindsight you thought, what a fucking scam.
Yeah, total
What
scam.
a scam. Not only are you getting a wage for being a lecturer at the university, but you're also pimping out your production and getting everybody who's on the course to go and see it.
Yeah. It's a scam.
And getting the college to pay for it.
Yeah.
As part of the course.
It's everything in life is a scam. And so she hires the theater, and I had this rule where you had to pay in advance because I wasn't going to be chasing you down to get paid. You show up, you give me the check, you get to go in, you get to build your set, and you get to run your rehearsals and then open up at the end of the week and then run your show for a week or two, right? And of course, she was like, she sent her minions, and her minions didn't have the check, and they were like, and they said, you said we can move in. We have a contract that we can move in. And I'm like, yeah, but where's the check? And they're like, oh, she's going to bring it. She'll come tomorrow morning. And she kept putting it off. And then
that's bullshit.
Yeah. Come opening night, 5 days later, I still hadn't got the check. Right. And so I was at that point where I'd been doing this for 4 or 5 years now. And I was like, I no longer had a fuse, it was just like, I had no patience. I was just like, oh, you're opening tonight and you don't have the check? Well, guess what? You're not selling tickets. I'm selling tickets, and I'm garnishing all your box office. All the money's coming directly to me until I get my fucking money, right?
Fair enough.
And I'm putting my foot down, and they all like, oh, you're an angry person. I'm like, I'm not angry. I'm frank. I'm being really quite frank and direct, and I'm not even yelling, but I'm not whispering either. I'm basically making it clear to you that, I'm not afraid of you, and I don't like you.
Why is it your problem that someone hasn't paid?
Well,
it's her problem, right? She hasn't paid.
Oh,
right?
but I'm a bad man because she's an artist. She's an artist, and of course they'll pay eventually. I'm like, no. I'm not a goof. I'm not.
No. But everything that you've experienced up until that point has said that they're probably not going to pay.
That's exactly right. They're basically trying to not pay. So I basically took over and I started selling tickets, right? Friday night, Saturday matinee, Saturday night, Sunday matinee. So Sunday matinee comes around, right? And they haven't made the $1,500 in their 4 shows yet, and so I'm stressing out. And then I'm opening up, and I'm in the lobby, right? And I'm manning the box office, and then a gaggle of old ladies walk in, and they're all talking real loud, and there must have been 26 of them, at least 20 of them. They could barely fit in the lobby. There were so many of them, right? And they're all wearing fur coats, right? Fur coats because it's kind of cold outside, right? And they all got giant, diamond rings, right? And there's they were all able-bodied. There was one little old lady who was they helped in, and she sat down, and she was such an old raisin she could hardly move, right? So she was clearly a senior citizen, but the rest of them were pretty spry. I say old ladies, but they were spry. And so the first woman says, and she's very well dressed and very clearly wealthy, right? She's like, oh, my name is so-and-so, Miss Finkelstein. Okay, Miss for 2. And it says, and I look at the notes, right? I got to look at the notes, and it says, Finkelstein, 2 tickets, regular price. It says that right on the list, right? And so I say, okay, so that's, I think I told her whatever the ticket price was, and she says, oh, I'm a senior. And I said, it says right here you're a regular ticket. And she's like, no, I'm a senior citizen. And I was like, you're a senior? You're a senior, right? You don't look like a senior to me, I said, right? She's like, well, I am. And I was like, and I could just see what was coming, right? I could just
all of them were going to say that.
And they're like, oh, yeah, and then another one's like, oh, I'm a senior too. I'm a senior, I'm a senior. We're all seniors. And I was like, oh, I see what's going on here, right? You're all gonna fucking try and fuck me.
You're gonna try and fuck the carny.
Yeah,
and the carny isn't gonna have that.
And I'm not. So I was just like, you're all seniors. You're all seniors. All of you are seniors. I was like, you know what? Let's see some ID. So I was like, I ID'd all of them. I was like, I made them all pull out their identification. Let me see your identification, ladies. And I made them all. Not one of them. I was like, no. And what I actually said was like, everybody except the raisin on the chair there. Like, she's clearly a senior citizen. The rest of you ID. So I looked it up. Not one of them was over 60. Not one of them. The woman that was talking to me, she was actually 54. The oldest was 59. You know, they were all under 50.
What do you expect in Montreal?
60.
What do you expect in Montreal?
And I was just like, and I made them all pay full price. And like by the end, and then there was a fellow, there's an older guy there, like not like old senior, like he's like, he says, you can't treat these women like that. And I'm like, I'm treating these women like that. They just lied to me. They just told me that they were seniors. They're clearly not seniors. And now and now I'm pissed off because you just fucking tried to fuck me over. Now I don't give a shit. You know, like I'm not going to be polite to you anymore, right? He's like, I want to talk to the manager. And I said, I am the fucking manager. Right? And he says like, you can't be like this. And he's like, you know what? You're out. Get out. And I kicked him out, right? And then like, the girls like all corralled him out the door, right? And at one point, they made him come in and apologize so that I would let him watch the play, right? And I was just like lost my shit, and I was like super angry, sour, just like that. Just like that. That was like that guy with the cloud over his head.
Yeah.
And they're all just like, oh, he doesn't get laid in a while.
Right. So basically, the two problems that have made your problem. One, the person who booked it didn't have the money. Fuck her. You haven't paid.
Yeah.
You're not running the show. Number two, loads of people come in and they all lie about their age, trying to get something cheaper. You ID them. Instead of them being embarrassed about it, they're actually angry with you for actually asking them for their ID.
Yeah.
That's just perverse.
Well, that's Canada. That represents Canada. Like, you try to do what's right, and you state the obvious, and you get lampooned for it. You're the one that's the bad person for stating what's obvious. And so, like, they all went and saw the show, and I was, like, sitting in my office with a fucking storm cloud over my head, you know? And I rolled a joint, and I smoked a joint, and I was like... And then my mother called.
Did she want to get in for free?
No, my mother called and she's like, "Oh, I'm just calling to tell you that your grandmother died." My grandmother died that day, and I was like, "Oh, my grandmother died." Just kind of like as if to say, "You were just mean to a bunch of old ladies," and I hope you feel bad about it.
Fuck. Maybe those ladies didn't actually exist. They were just sent by your grandma.
Yeah, maybe.
They only existed in the sort of like fourth or fifth dimension.
No, they existed. They existed.
Really did?
Yeah, Gabrielle Susskind.
Brilliant.
You're a cunt.
Were they her people?
They're her people.
Oh, fantastic. Gets better. All right, that's great. Thank you very much, Eric. It's a wonderful story. Okay, so thanks for listening, ladies and gentlemen. I have been Ivan Penaluna.
I have been Eric Amber.
And I'm Pierre Draculea.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.